Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Micah. I'll be your astrologer for today, and we are getting all into the breakdown of the full moon in Aries that's coming up. I'm doing this video a little bit early. We are just coming off of the eclipses at the time of me actually creating this video. And so, but I did want us to get a little bit ahead onto the full moon in Aries because this one is going to be intense. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, anytime we have a full moon, I always like to say that the moon is at its mooniest, meaning we see lots of change. We see things coming to their peak. Our habits are on full blast. It is now or never. It is a time where we can see things come to completion, as well as a time where we can start to see the glimmers of some new beginnings as well, especially in Aries. And so, whenever the moon itself is in Aries, our emotions, which is, I guess, is another part of a full moon, is that our emotions are on full display. If I hadn't said that already, but when we're talking about the moon in Aries, we're feeling a little feisty. We're also feeling very inspired to start something new or to initiate something. And with the moon, this could be our habits. We can be more prone to getting outside of our comfort zones, wanting to conquer something, really wanting to stand up for ourselves and advocate for ourselves is something that I really like with the moon being in Aries. The moon in Aries sometimes can lend itself to being a bit more conflict driven, but it can also tend towards the side of being a bit more carefree and being more just self centered. And I do want to take this time to also remind you that being selfish is not always a bad thing because you have to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. And so I think the moon in Aries is really a great moon sign to be able to remind us that. Um, Being a people pleaser is not always the best move when it comes to truly being able to take care of people in the best and most responsible way. And so, let's take a look at where this moon is actually being ruled at, or what planet is actually ruling this moon. So we have the moon in Aries that's being ruled by Mars and Scorpio. And so when Mars is in Scorpio, we're looking at Mars being in one of its home signs and its feminine domicile. And so we can see Mars being very intense, very focused on change and initiating that change and being very determined to get some sort of results. Again, that's why I was saying at the beginning, it's kind of like a now or never kind of full moon. But Scorpio also really focuses in on defense as well as death and rebirth. And so with this moon in Aries, it can be a time where we're really facing the things that scare us the most and really like going after and attacking those things. Hopefully, it's in a productive way, which I think it could possibly be because we do have. It's not as like as perfect um, of a sextile, but we do have Mars in Scorpio making a sextile to Venus in Virgo, which could make it a bit more productive, um, in a more of out of the box way, since um, Venus is in Virgo at 21, which is a Sagittarius degree, and Mars is in Scorpio at a 10. And so it's a lot about making sure that we have the foundation before we just jump into action and making sure that we understand fully what are the repercussions of our actions as well as why are we taking certain actions, because Scorpio likes to get into like taking things apart and really understanding the psychology and being a bit more reflective before it actually goes into making any sort of moves. And it's more about the psychological and hidden aspect rather than just the physical outright what you see in front of you. Also, we can see that Mars in Scorpio is going to be making another slight, like a more like an energetic trine to Jupiter in Cancer. And this is why I say it's about kind of like the rebirth of something. Anywhere Jupiter touches or makes aspect to, even if it is just energetically, is going to lend itself to some sort of expansion. And so there could be some sort of emotional aspect that really like sets us on a path to change something, whether it be about our house, our relationships to family, or just kind of like where are we going, finding a new direction to go into. But I think a lot of this is going to have to do with us having to really face ourselves internally to be able to start that new beginning as well. Something else I want to talk about is that this moon in Aries is making a not an exact conjunction, but again, we do have the moon that has just recently crossed over Neptune, and so there can be some feelings of being a bit more self-focused or being a little bit more sensitive, as we've kind of already talked about with Mars and Jupiter making a energetic trine with each other, but with the moon and Neptune being so close together, we're definitely getting a lot of feelings, and possibly just feeling a little bit more lonely, a feeling possibly a bit more drained when it comes to other people. Anytime the moon and Neptune are together, we are very sensitive, not just emotionally, but also more so in like a spiritual context as well. And so just be very aware of whose energy you are your whose energy you're letting into your field. Um, because of course Aries is the I, Libra is the we, and so it's being very mindful of what relationships again need to change. Whose energy do you want around you? Who can kind of like what needs to be shed, not only or dissolved, what part what parts of yourself not only need to be dissolved, but what possible like relationships also need to be dissolved, because we can definitely see that with Neptune as well. Also really pay attention to your dreams during this time. With the moon and Neptune again, this can lend itself to a lot of sleepiness or just feeling like you want to go out and conquer the world. But Neptune can manifest as like, let's talk about this, like in some sort of therapy session. Let's be more reflective. Let's be more spiritual. Or it can just manifest in the way of let's take a nap and we can have a dream about it. Our mind is busy thinking about these things while we're in this kind of dark place, which could be like Mars and Mercury, since Mars and Mercury are also in this kind of like energetic conjunction about how do we want to execute, how do we want to decide to execute a certain situation, or how do we want to change something. um, Mercury in Scorpio will be making a square to Pluto in Aquarius, and so not not all of our relationships will unfortunately make it, but it'll also force us outside of our comfort zone. You can't get something new without doing something new, and I think that's really the big point of Mercury and Mars in Scorpio with that square to Pluto in Aquarius. If you want to have some sort of revolutionary change, you have to be willing to go after it, even if it makes you uncomfortable, even if it feels a little isolating at times. Now, the thing with Aquarius is that Aquarius is not rebellious just for rebellion's sake. It has a reason. It does not completely throw out foundation, it builds on foundation. And so this full moon, I think, definitely is offering an opportunity for some new beginning. But the big question here is why, which is what I think causes a lot of people kind of going into themselves, being a bit more private, being a bit more reflective, even if they have the best intentions of being social and out there with everybody. But I think this also, this inner kind of like frustration between Mars being at play in both its feminine and masculine domiciles could definitely create some tension and conflict between people in our relationships. Let's not forget that also the moon is at a 14 in Aries, which is a Taurus degree. And so this could be surrounding things such as assistance, like who is there to support you, help you. What about your own self esteem? Like, how do you view yourself? What are your values? What are your partner's values? Your money, your banking, your food, your resources, all of those things are very Taurus like things. And on top of that, whatever you do decide to do, you are going to be standing 10 toes down on business, not just because of that degree, but also because Mars is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed sign. And so it's saying that we can start this new journey, but we are going to have to be all in and all out, no matter if it might come off a bit extreme to other people. Now, the beautiful thing is that Libra The sun is in Libra, and so it is about balance. And so I'm not saying that you have to be a complete douchebag to people if you're starting something new, but it is saying that you do put yourself first in the interest of being there for people later. But you have to work on yourself first and transform yourself first before you can transform and be there for others. But you have to make sure that what you're getting in and what you're getting out of a relationship is worth transforming for. And so I do think that we could see a lot of breaking of relationships happening during this full moon, but I also think that we could see a lot of new revelations and breakthroughs personally come through in this full moon as well. But other than that, that is all I have for the breakdown in the full moon in Aries. All right, Aries. So this full moon is in your first house and it's triggering deep personal transformation, both internally and externally, possibly involving your body or shared resources. With Mars in Scorpio in your eighth, you may confront fears, face trust issues, or call out partners or friends on commitments. Emotions can run high and you can be feeling a bit feisty, but make sure that you are also balancing out that feistiness with reflectiveness and just an openness and readiness for change. We have the tarot card for you for this full moon being the sun card, which I feel like is very like balanced. And since the sun is in Libra, your opposite sign. And so a lot of times the sun is about celebration. And I don't think that it's not about that for you. You can be finishing things up with full moon in your sign and just kind of not finishing a cycle, but actually, yeah, no, this is kind of like the opposite of what it would be if like the sun was in your sign. And so this is more of a completion, whereas the sun in your sign is more of a beginning. But I think this is more about things coming to light and just things being illuminated for you. And so you can have that kind of aha moment. And so that is mostly what I'm seeing for you is that completion of a cycle, as well as just kind of like being like almost the life being pumped back into you because you are kind of seeing the dots really come together on things. And so that is what I have for you, Aries. Good luck. All right, Taurus. This full moon is going to be in your 12th house and it's sparking restless nights, sudden inspiration and introspection, possibly through spiritual or creative pursuits. We have Mars in Scorpio in your 7th house and it exposes hidden tensions with partners or friends, while Mercury squaring Pluto may bring out grievances and really bring those to the table and forefront, as well as intimacy or work life balance is also something that we can see become a focus. So I see with the tarot for you, the card that we have is the Seven of Swords. And like I said, with the 12th house being involved, this is often things that we don't see, especially with the ruler being in the seventh. What's interesting is that both houses that have to do with enemies, both open and hidden, are involved here. And so I have no reservations about the fact that you will probably be calling out some liars, whether these are people close to you or just people you are seeing that are in your partner circle. I definitely think you are going to be the one blowing the whistle, just unapologetically. And so just make sure that if you can, do it in a strategic way since the sun is in Libra, and do so with class and grace as you always do. Don't let it get it out. Don't let other people get you outside of your character. But that is all I have for you. Good luck, Taurus. All right, Gemini, we have the full moon in your 11th house, and it's highlighting transformations in friendships, community, and long-term goals. And so this can oftentimes be tied to your work or health routines as well. Busy schedules or travel may create some tension, but there is potential for meeting people who broaden your perspectives and support new learning or career goals. And so we have the Knight of Wands for the tarot card for you, Gemini. Something I will say with all of this 11th house energy and wanting to learn new things, and the 6th house being so much about scheduling. With the Knight of Wands showing up, this tells me that you are doing your typical Gemini thing. And I'm not surprised with the full moon in Aries. Aries is already very energetic and it is so full of life free spirited and just very like passionate about whatever it sets its eyes on in that moment. And that I do want to emphasize is in that moment. The Knight of Wands is very enthusiastic. But my biggest thing with the Knight of Wands is that it starts a lot of things but does not finish them because it spreads itself too thin, which can lead to burnout. And so pace yourself, Gemini. I think you have a lot of great opportunities to start new things for yourself as well as start new things with other people. Just make sure that you are not overwhelming yourself when it comes to in and out of work socially. And so that is what I have for you, Gemini. Good luck. All right, Cancer. The full moon is in your 10th house and it's emphasizing career and public image, and it's really pushing you to assert independence or start new ventures. We have Mars in Scorpio in your fifth, and it's sparking bold self-expression, but tensions can arise with partners or others who might resist your autonomy, which can potentially lead to power struggles or clashes. And the tarot card that we have for you, ironically, is the Two of Cups. And so I feel like with the Two of Cups, it's more on other people to do their best to listen for the sake of not responding, but to understand. Cancer, you're already very good at this. The Two of Cups is actually the Venus in Cancer card. And so I'd say if this does have to do with you, if you are being the one that is not listening or, really creating that hard shell towards what other people are saying, and you're just going a bit too hard when it comes to self-expression, because I think that could also be the case as well with the 10th and 5th house coming up, where you're just so sold out to not getting walked over by somebody. Um, what I would say is that remember that the sun is in Libra, and so it is the focal point is on relationships. And while I fully support you standing up for yourself and being bold and really spearheading any sort of new entrepreneurial ventures and just really, embracing your independence, I think sometimes you have to remember in that to not go in like a bulldozer in a china shop or a bull in a china shop. And sometimes it's all about balance. And so hear other people out. It doesn't mean that you have to give up your own boundaries, but it does mean that you should think about, in what I'm saying, is that possibly going to hurt the other person or hurt the relationship? Because the relationship and yourself and your own self-expression can definitely coexist. And so that's what I have for you, Cancer. Good luck. All right, Leo, the full moon is in your ninth house. And so it's really fueling confidence, solo adventures, and expansion through travel or learning. With Mars in Scorpio in your fourth house, that's tying this growth to family or home matters and affairs. Tensions may arise if relatives clash with your partnerships, contracts, or personal choices. Something else that I'll say is that this moon being in the ninth does really emphasize travel or just like broadening your horizons, like broadening your mind or really wanting to learn something new, even if that is from family members. And so the Three of Wands, I say that because the Three of Wands, oftentimes we see this card not just with new beginnings and moving forward with something, whether somebody else likes it or not, because it's a Sun and Aries card, ironically. But it's also a travel card as well. And so I do wonder if a lot of Leo risings, Leo moons are going to be doing a lot of traveling either back home or overseas from home. And so let me know how that works out for you, Leo. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, that is all I have for you. Good luck. All right, Virgo, this full moon is in your eighth house and it's highlighting shifts in intimacy, trust, and shared resources. And with Mars in Scorpio in your third, it's really urging crucial conversations or new ways of communicating. Breakthroughs are even possible. But where we can see tension is that you may face some issues surrounding like commitments or mental stress. What I would say is that journaling or like kind of talk therapy can help you process and kind of keep the stress low. Something else that I could see with the eighth house is like transformation and endings, and the third house can sometimes be our neighborhood and moving. And so, not only do I think this can be a time where your mind is just moving at 1,000 miles per minute, but also it could be a stressful time of moving. The tarot card that we have for you is the Queen of Pentacles, which is a big indicator, at least when I get this card for clients, is to pay attention to your body and what kind of energy you are taking on. Yes, it's important to, really take care of yourself and also take care of other people. That's what the Queen of Pentacles does. She nurtures other people through giving them the physical things that they need, but sometimes it's at the expense of her own physical health, and not taking care of herself. And so make sure that you, in the midst of being of service to other people, Virgo, you're also being of service to yourself first, because you can't take care of other people appropriately if you don't take care of yourself first. But that is what I have for you, Virgo. Good luck. All right, Libra, we have this full moon. It is in your seventh house and it's spotlighting partnerships and contracts. And with Mars in Scorpio in your second house, it can be bringing in financial shifts through a partner or joint ventures as well. Tensions might arise over the cost of leisure, self-expression, or support, pushing you to balance union and individuality. Um, Something that I could see with this seventh house, second house kind of mashup as well is that you are really seeing more so. This full moon is really emphasizing what you're worth in a partnership, and it's really having you focus in on the you in the relationship. And a lot of that is coming through a transformation of your own self esteem and maybe realizing that certain relationships just aren't meant for you, whether they be romantic, intimate, or business like. And so you getting the Three of Swords makes a lot of sense, because it's about truth that might hurt, but truth that you need to know nonetheless so that you can go forward with the utmost clarity. And so, Libra, that is all I have for you. Good luck.